All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're unpacking the deadliest conflict in human history. But we're not just looking at the battles, we're tracking exactly how this war completely upended the global order forever. Honestly, if you really want to understand the foundation of modern global politics, why borders are where they are, and why certain alliances exist, you absolutely have to look at the massive shifts that went down during World War II.
Just let this number sink in for a second. 70 million. That staggering figure represents the estimated human lives lost during this conflict. I mean, it's almost impossible to wrap your head around. And beyond that unimaginable human toll, entire cities were just leveled to the ground. The physical and demographic maps of the world weren't just shifted, they were completely torn apart.
There's this quote that really hits the nail on the head. Nations rose, empires fell, and the world changed forever. When the dust finally settled, it was clear this wasn't just a military conflict. It was a total global reset. The old-school ways of diplomacy, completely obliterated. It literally made way for the world we know today, born directly out of all that devastation.
Part 1. The Seeds of Conflict. Okay, so to understand how we got there, we have to rewind a bit. Think back to 1918. The Treaty of Versailles imposed incredibly harsh penalties on Germany. This essentially guaranteed severe economic ruin, which directly fueled some extreme anger and frustration among everyday people. Fast forward to 1933, and it's exactly that environment of deep desperation that allowed a monumental political shift. Adolf Hitler capitalized on all that frustration by promising to restore a struggling nation, and in doing so, he completely altered the political trajectory of Europe.
So what did Hitler actually do right out of the gate in 1933? Well, three major things. He rebuilt the military, he promoted extreme nationalism, and he relentlessly promised to restore Germany's former global power. And here's the thing you have to realize. These weren't just domestic policies. They were literally the seeds of a massive international conflict being planted right in plain sight. He was systematically unraveling that super fragile post-World War I global order.
Which brings us to Part 2, the fall of Europe. September 1st, 1939. This is the catalyst. Germany invades Poland, and all those existing political alliances, they're instantly triggered. In immediate response to this aggression, Britain and France declare war on Germany. Just like that, a border invasion snowballs into a massive, multi-nation conflict that shattered European stability basically overnight.
Now, to understand how the political map of Europe changed so incredibly fast, you really need to understand Blitzkrieg. It literally translates to lightning war. This was a completely revolutionary military tactic using rapid, aggressive, and just overwhelming strikes. Because of this, Germany was able to shockingly and quickly capture not just Poland, but France, Belgium, and the Netherlands. Traditional defenses and old international borders simply folded under this unprecedented speed. It upended centuries of military doctrine.
But, that rapid expansion did eventually hit a massive brick wall. During the Battle of Britain, the United Kingdom faced months of relentless, devastating bombing by German air attacks. Yet, they resisted. The UK remained unconquered. And politically, that was huge. It provided a solitary but absolutely vital stronghold in Western Europe that would become totally crucial for future Allied operations.
Moving on to Part 3. The War Goes Global.
Just look at how fast this conflict swallowed the globe. I mean, from Poland in '39 to the Soviet Union in '41, and then Pearl Harbor in December of that very same year. The sheer speed at which this expanded across totally different continents goes to show how interconnected global politics had already become. What started as a regional European dispute had essentially dragged the entire planet into the fray.
By 1941, we hit Operation Barbarossa, Germany's invasion of the Soviet Union. This drastically widened the geopolitical focus, turning into one of the largest and bloodiest military campaigns in all of human history. Opening up the Eastern Front fundamentally shifted the balance of power, pulling the vast resources and manpower of the Soviet Union into a brutal, grinding war of attrition.
And then, the conflict reaches all the way across the Pacific. On December 7, 1941, Japan attacks the U.S. naval base at Pearl Harbor. This specific attack was the ultimate trigger. It finally forced the United States to abandon this political isolationism and jump fully into the war. The geopolitical board was set. Every major global power was now locked into the fight, cementing this as a truly worldwide war.
Part 4. The Tides Turn. So, with all that unstoppable momentum, what actually turned the tide of the deadliest war in history? How in the world did the Allies manage to halt a war machine that had so completely dominated global politics just months prior?
Well, the answer really boils down to three critical battles: Stalingrad, Midway, and El Alamein. And what's wild is that these major turning points took place across completely different parts of the globe. You've got the freezing ruins of Russia, the middle of the vast Pacific Ocean, and the sweeping deserts of North Africa. Together, these specific victories shifted the momentum firmly back toward the Allies. It finally proved that the Axis expansion could in fact be stopped.
That shifted momentum paved the way for June 6, 1944, D-Day. Allied forces landed on the beaches of Normandy in a massive, totally unprecedented amphibious assault. This marked the definitive beginning of the liberation of Western Europe. The political map that had been so aggressively redrawn by Blitzkrieg was finally being pushed back, setting the absolute stage for the fall of the Axis powers.
Part 5. A world changed forever.
The final sequence of events that brought the war to a close happened incredibly fast. In May 1945, Germany surrenders. Then, in August 1945, the world witnesses the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. This was an entirely new, terrifying leap in military technology that instantly, and I mean instantly, changed the calculus of global power. Finally, later that same month, Japan surrenders, officially bringing World War II to an end.
So, what's the big takeaway here? The sheer scale of this war permanently altered the global landscape. Politics, technology, international relations, they were all changed forever. The old empires fell. New superpowers, mainly the United States and the Soviet Union, rose to prominence. And the international systems we interact with every single day now, like the United Nations, they were built directly on the ashes of this conflict, designed specifically to prevent something like this from ever happening again.
Which leaves us with a massive question. How do the lessons of this devastating conflict continue to shape the political borders and global relations we see today? I want to challenge you to look at today's world. Look at the current alliances, the international organizations, the geopolitical tensions in the news. If you look closely enough, you can still recognize the lingering echoes of 1945. It is all connected. Thank you so much for exploring this defining moment in history with me today. Keep questioning and keep learning.